So you've probably seen those tumblers online, right? They're really cool. They look a lot like this, but you're trying to figure out how they went from a plain silver tumbler to this beautiful, cool design. Well, today, I'm gonna show you how to do that with our amazing clear cast. Let's jump right in. Hey guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit subscribe and then hit the bell too to get notified when we put out a new video. All right, so we've started out this process by taking our time and prepping each one of these tumblers to receive some paint. So we started off by taping them off. You tape off the top, that's to make sure your epoxy doesn't get into the cup. It also leaves really nice, clean silver lines so that cup looks nice and professional. Really just looks beautiful. Then, after you got that taped off, we're gonna just hit it with some sandpaper real quick. That just helps rough up the surface just to make sure the paint sticks to it nice and easily. So we've got our tape on, we've sanded it down, and at that point, we're ready to start painting. On the first one, I did a little bit of like a cool, nice dark pink on the bottom and then lavender on the top too to make a nice cool transition, but we're gonna glitter that one up. Then on the second one, I did a black base coat and then used the primary colors, yellow, red, and blue to give it this deep kind of space effect, and then used actually one of those simple thin stir sticks, dipped it in a little bit of white paint, and then flicked it from far away to give the appearance of stars. So you end up with this really cool kind of galaxy looking cup. All right, so these are prepped, ready to go. I've got my glasses. I'll put them on when we start mixing, and I'm gloving up here. And I've got these tumbler turners set up. These you can get at your local hobby store. They're really pretty simple. Plug them into normal power. Then there's a switch. It's probably pretty hard to see, but they just barely rotate. We're actually gonna leave these on overnight because we're gonna put the epoxy on them, spread it out with our hands, and then turn those tumbler turners on and kind of forget it. All right, so I'm gonna turn that back off. We've got these guys painted, ready to go, like I said, light, well actually dark pink up to lavender, and then this kind of fun, galactic-y kind of one. Do whatever you want. This is all about you having fun. I'm gonna add a little bit of glitter to this one. We're just going loud as possible. And this one I'm just gonna leave clear. That way you can kind of see a difference. What happens to it when you add a bunch of glitter? What happens to it when you just leave it clear? So that's what we're gonna do. In both instances, we're gonna need to mix up some epoxy. But before that, I've got these taped off. I've taped the inside of this too and the outside. That way it goes on the foam a little bit easier. And I did these pull tabs when I was taping it up. That's gonna make the process of removing this tape so much easier. When the epoxy dries, it gets really hard to take this off, but having this pull tab, it'll just go better. Trust me on that. So let's go ahead. We can pinch down this foam a little bit and then slide our tumbler right on there. Now you just wanna turn it on real quick before you start pouring epoxy. Just make sure it works. And it does. Mission accomplished. Cool. So I'm gonna move these to the side real quick. Leave those over there. And now I gotta mix up some epoxy. I'm gonna dose out one with glitter, one without. So I'm just gonna use this one to do my first big batch mix, and then we'll go from there. Again, I always pour B first and then put A into it, just because the A side's a tiny bit thicker. That way, it's easier to mix around. And you're not scraping the sides all day long. When you're mixing this, scrape the sides just to be double sure. Rotate your cup, and you're kind of just folding it over itself. I'll mix this probably for around 4 to 6 minutes until there's no more swirls and the mixture is completely clear. So I'm just gonna take this, like I said, I'm gonna do glitter in one and no glitter in the other so you can kind of see the difference. So I'm just gonna dose out kind of equal parts here. Again, you don't need that much epoxy to cover a tumbler, but still good to have enough. You don't wanna be too short. All right, it's dosed out. Now it's time for some glitter. So I'm adding glitter to this lavender and pink one. All right, I'm gonna start with that. I don't know how much is too much, so might as well mix it up and find out where we stand. Worst case scenario, if I don't like what I'm seeing, I'll just mix up some more epoxy. All right, our epoxy's mixed up. Let's get these guys back into our go stations. Now these are bigger than maybe your average tumbler. I love unsweetened iced tea. I'm gonna need a lot of space for unsweetened iced tea. So I went with the big ones. So I have a little bit of like extra hangover here. I've got plastic down on the table. That'll take care of that. Now we got to turn on these tumblers, get pouring. They're rotating, they're ready to go. No going back now, team. If you mess it up, buy another tumbler. Go again. Here we go. Just gonna pour a little bit on the top, just in a line. And I'm gonna let that coast over, use my hands, and I'm just gonna spread it out. Oh no, I missed spots. It's okay. If you want, you can actually spread your epoxy on the far side that's actually turning over. Gives it more time to actually even out before it just curls over the edge there. Now look, if you're a tumbler pro, you've probably noticed that I've mixed up a little bit more than is necessary. I'm not a tumbler pro. I've done this a couple times, but by no means am I the absolute expert. So if you are and you know exactly the right amount to use, let us know in the comments. So as I'm doing this, right, I'm kind of checking this over, making sure I've got all the coverage I need. Sometimes there's little spots that maybe feel missed. I'm going above and beyond here. Epoxy is self-leveling, so as this rotates overnight, it's gonna work out just fine. Just make sure you've got all the areas covered and you should be good. The glitter one is done. Holy cow. It's yelling at me from this side of the table, but I love it. I think it's gonna be really, really cool. In the meantime, our galactic one needs our clear coat that we're gonna put on it. So here we go, same thing. Now, I did change my gloves in between this one and this one because I don't want any glitter on this guy. And then just use your fingers and get that all spread out. I usually hit these with a torch just to release all the air that's trapped. I don't see a lot of air in here. This stuff, pretty great. I'm still gonna do it anyways though, just because safe than sorry. All right, so now we have to wait 2 hours, come back, and then take this tape off. If you waited to take the tape off until everything was completely dry, it's gonna be real difficult because all of that epoxy is dried up. That gets really annoying. So come back, 2 hours, take the tape off, then keep them spinning, let them dry for 24. All right, it's been 24 hours and these tumblers have been, well, tumbling the entire time. I did pause them to take the tape off. It was about 2 hours into the curing process that you want to do that. If you wait longer than 2 hours, then those things are going to be basically glued forever. It's going to get really annoying. So I took them off. I made those pull tabs. It made it super, super easy. All that's left to do now, turn these off and then take them off. This little foam comes right off. You can put those back on there. These guys can move to the side, and we've got our finished tumblers. These turned out great. Here's this one's so sparkly, so shiny, and this one, that actually does look kind of deep space galactic. I love this. This is really cool. If you've never done a tumbler before, you gotta try it. It's so easy, it's so much fun. How to do it, it's really, really simple. You can do this with kids, with family, and make these as gifts. There's so many ideas. There's a million people doing these, and it's so, so cool. If you've never done one, give it a shot. As always, subscribe, click the bell to get notified. We'll see you next time.